All right, welcome to today's Explainer. Go ahead and grab your metaphorical hiking boots because we're about to embark on a really fascinating climb. We're exploring a concept that philosophers, psychologists, and spiritual leaders have obsessed over for millennia: the ascent toward life's ultimate peak. Using an intriguing source text authored by Xu Feng detailing the highest realm of life, we're going to map out exactly what it means to elevate the human experience. We'll look at how ancient thinkers map this journey, and then we'll dive deep into the highly specific framework laid out in our source material.
But before we get into the texts, I've got a direct question for you. What is your life's highest realm? Right now, at this exact moment in your life, where do you set the bar for your absolute spiritual, mental, and personal peak? Are you climbing toward a specific goal, or are you kind of just wandering the foothills? Keep your personal answer in mind as we analyze how history's greatest thinkers and our specific source text today have attempted to answer that exact question.
Okay, so let's set our baseline and define what a realm actually is according to our source text. It's not a physical place on a map. It's defined here as the spiritual and mental heights of a person, reflecting the essence, taste, quality, and value of their life. Think of it as your operational altitude. The higher your realm, the completely different your perspective on everyday essence and value becomes.
Here is our trail map for today. 1. Defining a life realm. 2. Mapping the historical realms. 3. The Lifechanyuan highest realm. 4. Traits of ultimate detachment. And 5. Reaching the mountain peak.
All right, Section 1, Mapping the Historical Realms.
We're going to start our ascent with the ancient Chinese philosopher Confucius. Our source points out that he mapped life realms strictly chronologically. At age 30, you stand on your own. At 40, you're no longer perplexed by the world. At 50, you understand your destiny. By 60, your ears are obedient, meaning you can hear different opinions without getting upset. And finally, at 70, the peak, you can follow your heart's desires without overstepping any moral bounds. It's a fascinating map based entirely on the wisdom of aging.
Jumping forward to modern psychology, the text brings up American psychologist Abraham Maslow. Instead of age, Maslow created a hierarchy of needs. You start at the very bottom with basic physiological survival. Once that's secure, you move up to safety, then emotional connection, then esteem, until you finally reach the summit, self-actualization. It's a realm map based purely on the fulfillment of human requirements.
The source also impartially compares the maps drawn by major Eastern spiritual traditions. Take Taoism, which divides existence into 3 realms: the earthly realm of demons and monsters, the human realm full of emotions, desires, birth, and death, and finally, the heavenly realm, defined by goodness, wisdom, and a total lack of desire. Then look at Buddhism, which offers a different trio: the desire realm, the form realm where desire is transcended but physical form remains, and the ultimate formless realm, which is an existence made solely of mental consciousness.
Now listen to this. Falling leaves fill the empty mountains. Where do I find your footprints? The source highlights how Zen Buddhism, along with ancient poets like Yuan Ming, describe their spiritual realms not with rigid tiers, but with beautiful, momentary imagery. It's a realm defined by harmony with nature, quiet observation, and the profound realization of emptiness.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Lifechanyuan highest realm.
So how exactly does this specific text structure its highest realm? Well, the source outlines 9 specific traits, and we've grouped them into 3 main pillars to make them easier to absorb: detachment, harmony, and wealth. To reach the peak in this philosophy, you have to achieve absolute detachment from the mundane, total harmony with the universe and the divine, and accumulate a very specific type of spiritual and material wealth.
Let's unpack that first pillar. According to the text, the absolute foundation of this peak requires profound detachment. And hey, this doesn't just mean paying off your credit card. The text specifies owing neither money to anyone nor emotional obligations. It requires going with the flow and living so freely that you literally have zero worries about your sustenance, your lodging, or even the cycle of birth and death. Your mind simply abides nowhere.
Which brings us to Section 3, Traits of Ultimate Detachment.
What's really interesting here is how the author illustrates the concept of non-contention. They instruct followers to observe the mundane world, sort of like you'd watch an ant kingdom, completely without judgments or evaluations. Let wolves be wolves and sheep be sheep. In this realm, you don't try to change the natural order of things. You simply observe the truth and ignore the falsehoods, totally detached from the human impulse to intervene.
The text also uses this gorgeous poetic metaphor: when geese pass over a cold pond, the pond shows no shadow. This beautifully reinforces the call to live completely without desires. It means moving through the world feeling totally content, leaving absolutely no trace of attachment behind, and just flowing with nature, whether you're in poverty or wealth.
Beyond detachment, the philosophy demands strict harmony and wealth. But we're talking about merging with the Tao and acquiring 3 types of abundance: soul, spiritual, and material wealth. It involves accumulating heavenly treasures with the understanding that your future lies in a higher-level space. Importantly, this philosophy also requires a strict adherence to its spiritual doctrine, referencing the greatest creator. The text demands that followers remain absolutely unyielding in this adherence, comparing them to a mountain rock that stays firmly embedded despite 1,000 strikes from blowing winds.
And that leads us to our final stage, Section 4, Reaching the Mountain Peak.
The source draws a really sharp dichotomy here. It states that achieving a high realm brings nobility, elegance, and just immense spiritual and mental freedom. But on the flip side, lacking a realm leaves a person trapped in vulgarity and coarseness. Basically, the lower your realm, the text argues, the easier it is to be endlessly entangled in exhausting worldly matters and constantly deceived by fleeting appearances. Now, unlike the abstract metaphors of Zen Buddhism, this specific source gives a highly structured, literal timeline for the ascent. It requires adherence to practice for 3 years within what they call the second home, just to reach the middle of the mountain. And the ultimate goal? That requires living in this second home for a total of 8 years.
And to put that into perspective, the author makes a very specific claim. They state that if followers commit to those 8 years in the second home, an exact success rate is guaranteed, 80%. The text asserts that 80% of adherents will absolutely realize their dreams and achieve their highest, most beautiful ideals of life and spirit.
We've definitely covered a lot of ground today, looking at everything from Confucius's timeline to Maslow's pyramid, right up to the precise framework of our source text. I want to leave you with a final thought. Are you currently entangled in what the texts call the desire realm, caught up in the friction of everyday life? Or are you intentionally moving toward your own highest peak? Whatever map you choose to follow, I hope today's explainer gave you some tools to help chart your own ascent. Keep climbing, keep learning, and thank you so much for exploring with us today.